I'm really scared of my dad, especially when he's been drinking. Sometimes he gets really angry and throws things at my mum. It's been getting worse since coronavirus, and I worry a lot. I have no idea what to do. I can't escape because of lockdown.
What you're hearing are the words of children struggling with the impact of domestic abuse and more during this crisis.
I hear them shouting and throwing stuff at each other. It makes me so uncomfortable. I don't like being alone with my stepdad either. He tries to kiss me really hard on the neck and other private places. Last time it made a bruise. He said I'm not allowed to snitch on him, as everyone will be cross with me. I don't know what to do.
The testimony came through Childline. The NSPCC has seen calls to its helplines rise by a third since the start of lockdown.
My dad has been physically abusing my mum. He has an anger problem and it's getting out of hand. The smallest things make him angry and he starts shouting. I'm terrified of him and I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. Please help me.
1,500 adults have also called the NSPCC's helpline since the Prime Minister announced lockdown, detailing specific risks to children trapped behind closed doors. More than half of those calls have led to social services referrals, the charity told Newsnight.
We've also heard of abusers using lockdown as an excuse to exert more control and fear over children and adults in their home, so not letting children and adults go, for example, maybe to see the GP or maybe go and see other trusted adults and friends and family, or taking away technology and really exacerbating those coercively controlling behaviours that we are aware can have a profound impact on children in particular.
At the start of lockdown, Newsnight revealed that in England, only a fraction of children deemed vulnerable were attending school. That included those with child protection plans in place, children with social workers who were entitled to a school place through the pandemic but weren't turning up. We highlighted warnings that abusers would use the new restrictions to further isolate children. Now we've spoken to a woman who says that's just what's happening to her family.
My ex said that the risks of the virus were too high to justify sending our youngest two to school. And while they're classed as vulnerable and they should be at school, social services have said they can't enforce that. And so there's been nothing that we could do. So it's been really, really difficult because the children want to be at school. They were having daily support from teaching staff. Now they're getting no support at all.
The woman, whose identity we've concealed to protect the children, says she'd been wrangling to get two of them back from her abusive ex after he failed to return them from a contact visit. Lockdown has made it easier for him to keep them from her and their other sibling.
It's caused a lot of distress for all three children because we're finally in a bit of a routine, albeit not a great one, but they were seeing each other. There's been limitations on phone contact and he said, right, you've 10 minutes. So more and more of our lives have become fragmented. It's almost like he's getting right inside all of us and pulling us apart from each other. And it seems that there's nothing we can do. Nothing's open. Everything's skeleton staff. Social services can't go to people's homes all the time, and a lot are working from home. So I think in normal circumstances that would be raised as a real concern, but nobody's doing anything. There's nobody that can help.
This domestic abuse campaigner and counsellor in Wales has also seen an influx of people reaching out, many with similar stories.
The pandemic has just shone a light on an epidemic that we've got anyway with domestic abuse and violence. You know, where they could before have a bit of respite, go out to the house, the children go to school, you know, the woman maybe go to work, the abuser going to work, you know, going down the pub, whatever. Now there's no respite at all. We always say that it's like walking on broken eggshells, you know, when you're living with a perpetrator because you don't know what's coming next. This is like walking on broken glass for him. It is really, really frightening.
Rachel Williams knows the impact of domestic abuse on children. She was shot at work by a violent partner after years of abuse. He then killed himself. Tragically, just a few weeks later, so did her son Jack.
You know, you try and protect the children from it as much as you can, as well as yourself. You know, they can hear stuff going on downstairs. And, you know, certainly for Jack, the support was never there for him.
Devastatingly, lockdown has pushed another child to talk of taking that most desperate step.
My oldest has said that suicide is something that will happen if the two siblings don't come home. And it's not like a threat. It was said in a very matter-of-fact way that it's the decision, it's the only option. It's horrific. I mean, there's been a few times where there's been suicide threats in the past. I think with this one, it feels different.
The domestic abuse bill is currently making its way through Parliament. The NSPCC has shown Newsnight the new analysis it's presented to MPs who are scrutinising the bill. The charity found that children have been seriously harmed and even died because domestic abuse wasn't always considered a child protection issue, and they say the new legislation still doesn't recognise those experiences.
The statutory definition accompanying the bill does not currently include children and their direct experiences of domestic abuse. We think this is deeply concerning. The NSPCC has been lobbying for years for the government to include children, and as have numerous experts across the sector, including the Domestic Abuse Commissioner, the Victims Commissioner and the Children's Commissioner. It feels at this point as if the government is turning a deliberate blind eye to the experiences of children.
The government told Newsnight the guidance accompanying the bill stresses the impact of domestic abuse on children and establishes in law they must be considered and supported. What's clear for now is that nearly 3 months of lockdown have made already abusive situations unbearable for many, and the repercussions of that may not be understood for some time yet.